This is Dave from Sk8board Nation. Today's guest, man, Henry Hester, or AKA Bad H, as he is referred to back up on the hill. So anyway, Henry, you had an amazing and long career in skateboarding and a lot of other sports as well. A lot of other things, snowboarding, motorcycle racing. Let's see, what am I missing?
Surfing. I'm a mountain biker now.
Mountain biking.
I was a pro surfer in the 80s.
Yeah.
Top 10 in California for a while. Top 10. I made the semifinals and never made money. But I'll tell you what, those wave tool guys up in Newport, that little, I don't know what his name, Danny Kwok. I mean, famous guys now. Chris and Murray, you'd get a heat with those guys back in the 80s. Well, that's further along, but you get a heat with those guys, and you might as well get in your car and go home. Well, that's the end of me.
Okay.
Can you put my board in the car? We're going home.
Yeah, oh man, I got a bad draw this
They're
time.
so good.
Yeah.
I was 30, they were 18, I'm going, okay, no chance.
All right, well, let's start back when you were like 9, living in La Jolla.
Yes.
Grew up in La Jolla.
I grew up in La Jolla.
Yeah, and then...
Little rich kid in La Jolla.
You weren't that rich. I saw your house.
No,
your dad was an architect.
My dad was a mid-century modern architect, and he was very famous. Henry Hester, you can look him up. You do a Google on Henry Hester, and I think he might come up before me.
He does.
I mean, he was very well known for his architecture in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah. Actually, I saw one of the homes that I don't know if it was your home or one that he designed in La Jolla.
Oh,
but it was. It looked like Dr. Chen's house.
Yeah. No, he was sort of in the he was in the top echelon. There was a number of architects in La Jolla and along the coast and then there was Frank Lloyd Wright, who was the king guy. Yeah. They were. He was right there.
I wonder, Dave Crabb? Okay. Dave designs and builds homes like
really?
Dad. Yeah, that's what he does in New Zealand.
Mid-century modern.
They're incredible.
Flat roof. You know what? When I went surfing down there in Australia and in New Zealand, there were a lot of modern homes that you don't see here in California. You see slope roofs, and you don't need it because there's no rain here, mostly. But you don't see modern architecture here in the States as much as you see down in New Zealand and especially Australia below Sydney. There's all these cool homes and they're black and they're ahead of schedule down there. Those guys. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your dad surfed as well.
Yeah, he kind of surfed. He had a couple buddies that they'd go surfing, and he'd like this. He didn't really have he wasn't very good. He wasn't a guy that was a surfer.
Yeah. Okay. So,
but he took me surfing.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, he was taking you surfing with his buddies, and think of the equipment he was surfing on back then. What kind of boards were you guys
on? My first board was.
How old were you first?
I was 8 or 9.
Okay.
I was born in 51.
Okay.
And I started surfing in 59. I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And this is before before junior high.
Right.
And my first board was a balsa wood, probably a Jacobs balsa wood with a nice white tip repatched, and I think the thing was $15 or something like that. And my dad got it. I could barely lift it. It was so heavy. It had to be a 9.4 just balsa wood thing, and weighed 65 pounds. I mean, it was crazy. It was
weighed almost as much as you.
Oh, way more than me. But anyway, it was.
Did you had to carry that thing down to the beach, or was it dragged?
Oh, no, drag.
Okay.
No, you grab the nose and
okay.
No, there's no, or put it on your head and just go, whoa, little kid, I'm 9 years, 9 years old.
And they were having fun with you.
Well, no, not until I got my first real board. My dad went up to Hanson's at Cardiff and he ordered 2 boards, father and son, clear, 1 inch redwood stringers.
Yeah.
Decals on the top and the bottom, right in front of the fin. So the decals were always in the back of the boards in those days. So we show up La Jolla Shores, and I'm walking with this board on top of my head. And I don't know who the guys were. Mike Henson. I don't, it was the guys that were before us, that thought they were all.
Right.
Thought they were all.
Those guys were cool guys.
And they're cool guys, Eric Hauser and stuff. So I'm walking down La Jolla Shores down onto the beach with my board on top, and they go, I couldn't carry it under my arm. I'm still, again, 10 years old.
Right.
And they said, "Hey, dude, your sticker's on the wrong side." It was up underneath in front of the fin. I'm going, oh my God. And I'm looking at Dad. I'm going, "Dad, they screwed my board up and sticker's on the wrong side." Oh God, it just totally threw me off for the next 5 years. They called me the Gimper. I couldn't surf very well on a longboard. It wasn't until shortboards came in the late 60s that I was able to surf. I was a horrible longboard surfer. We'd go up to the nose and kind of knock-kneed and surf. I was just not a very good surfer when I was a kid.
Just think about it, though, okay? How difficult is it? Was that board balsa wood at that time, too?
Well, no, they became foam, but they're still 50, 40 pounds.
Yeah, because they were putting so much resin in how heavy it was.
It was still...
And you're weighing about 60, 70 pounds at that
80,
time.
90, yeah,
pounds,
whatever it was.
And you're trying to turn that board.
Oh, no, it was impossible. You'd turn, you go, whoa, and turn it and walk up to the nose and try to do your little hang 10 on the nose and go hang right off the front. In fact, those days in surfing was the big thing was, did you get back? You go up and hang 10 and then you could do that all day long, but you fall off. It was a matter of, getting back, and you didn't want to shuffle back. You wanted to cross step back, and that was the good guys did that.
That's right.
Cross stepping and going both ways. That was the way. That was what was hot. I couldn't do it. I was a Gimper. They called me the Gimper. I had weird hands, and I was horrible. But I got good. But shortboards was when I came in to my own.
So anyway, then P1. So here we have a picture of you or I should say, I believe this is the team, right? And it was the Wind and Sea.
Yeah,
was it the Wind and Sea Surf Club.
Yeah, that's those are guys from all over San Diego. Basically, there's Joel and Reed, Maine, and Conrad Miyoshi, who was a slalom skater, and he's back there
on the back left.
Yeah, Conrad. Yeah. And
I had no idea Conrad was around that long.
Conrad was a surfer before a skater.
Yeah.
He was a top California high school. In Australia they call it schoolboys. We surfed against each other in Sunset Cliffs, and it was a really tough heat. Conrad and I in 11th grade or 12th grade. Yeah. But you got Brad Hurst, and you got Lounsbury in there, Steve McCullum, Reed, and Joel Maine. To the left, I guess you'd call it. But yeah, it was a good group. We all wore our T-shirts backwards. Torst Svensson, the director, made us wear our shirts backwards. We didn't want to do it. I don't want to do that. That's stupid. And as it turns out, look at the picture. It came out just epic. And it was a really good time. I was 12th grade right there. And one of the better surfers in San Diego. One of the better surfers in San Diego at the time is for the school age. So
you were like right in the middle picture on the bottom row, right in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, man. Because
it's probably 180 or 60, 180 pounds.
Yeah.
What I am now, 185. I've lost 40. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So is this picture up?
High school. Yeah.
That picture is in Isla Natividad, and that is an island off of Christmas. That's an island off the Baja coast that you have to fly into. And Fernando, who was the owner of Reef Shoes, I think it was, had a little tour company, and he'd take surfers down, take out all the seats in this little Cessna, and put all the boards in there, and we'd have to sit on our sleeping bags and take us down to this island. And the waves are really good. There's a bright coming right around the corner of this island. And boy, but the place was horrible. So I went with Sk8board, and these were just looking around.
This is in high school?
This is just after high school.
Okay.
This is a little after high school.
You were friends with Sk8board back then?
Well, at this time here, I think there might be pictures earlier than that. But anyway, it's out of...
Okay.
But yeah, Sk8board went, and one of the funny things he said, he looks to take the brochure that Fernando and Sergio, the guys that are really prominent guys now, made this little brochure. It's all the amenities of a fantastic vacation. We're in this plywood shack. It was crap all over the island. It's dirt. toilet paper everywhere, just horrible. And Sk8board goes like this and goes, I don't think they're all the amenities of a beautiful vacation are here, but boy, is the surf good.
Yeah.
And, every night we go to this lady's house. We'd all walk over to the lady's house, and only thing she had down there on this island was lobster.
Yeah.
So we'd have lobster every night.
Yeah.
Lobster tacos, lobster this, lobster that, and we got literally sick of it after about 6 or 7 days down there. Lobster.
But that sounds like a typical surf trip.
It was excellent. It was excellent. They'd fly in, fly out.
Yeah. Man,
he probably flew us in illegally, across the border.
Like yeah.
There was no checking.
That's brilliant.
Anyway, that was some of that. That was fun.
Yeah, man. Okay, so we're transitioning here. Let's see, 4. Let's talk time. Oh, yeah. So you're going to kind of from like the surf time. You're starting to get interested in skateboarding.
I had been skateboarding in high school with George Taylor. We made these little round boards that were kind of cool. Plywood boards. Fiberflexes were out in PB. The guys the guys that were riding those were like Mike Henson and Skip Fry and guys that were just untouchable. We were little kids. Yeah. But we were making little platters with Chicago trucks and wheels on them. We did that, and then that just dropped out for about 10 years. Just skateboarding. Back in the day, skateboarding went up and down and up and down. It's giant. It might be 2 or 3 months nowadays. It would be 10 years where there was nothing sold. And another 10 years, I consider my pro career in skateboarding not the golden, not the first year, but the second year.
Right. Second
the first year was, the guys at South Bay going like this, doing a little, the Bruce Logan stuff. That was the first generation.
Yeah.
That wasn't second generation, for sure. First, second.
Okay.
And then it died after us.
At that time, you were like probably 20?
When I got back into skateboarding, I was living in Sun Valley. It's 1974. I remember because it was the Watergate years. That's how I have that's how I have a frame of reference on it. It was 1973. I came back from Sun Valley after a year of pretty bad snow, and I had lived there. And then came back and missed that Del Mar contest.
Okay.
God. Could have won that so easy. Missed that. I wasn't even a skateboarder yet. I wasn't a skateboarder yet. I think Yandel won. I don't know. Anyway, I'm looking. I missed it by a month or something like that.
Okay.
So
all right.
Steve.
Okay.
So what happened is that what happened with me and Lacoste is that there's a guy, Steve Ely, and Steve Ely was the guy that introduced us to Lacoste, Bob and I. Steve and Bob are really good friends. And Steve was riding at Lacoste, but not on the hills, but on the driveways. There's surfer driveways on the way down around the corner to the hill. But he was riding the driveways up and down on his Bane, on a Bane skateboard with Chicago.
Well, we just lost Bob too.
Bob
Bane?
Bane, yeah, right. Well, that was the board. Bob and Steve and I, we all rode those up and down, and that lasted about a minute before we went around the corner, and there's the Logans, and there's Vince and Bobby Turner, and they're racing slalom.
Okay.
And it's Chris Yandel and Danny Traylor and Neil and that whole crowd. Those 3 guys are all riding barefoot on Lacoste. I'm going, holy, I couldn't believe it. And so we got right into that. Steve dropped out. He didn't like the competitive. He was a soul surfer. So Steve Ely, who is still a really good friend of ours, ripping snowboarder. He got out of it. So Bob and I started going up there every weekend.
You and Sk8board.
Yeah, Sk8board and Piercy and Ryan and Williams and all those guys, Miyoshi, all those guys were kind of huddled around Vince and Bobby Turner for the Turner's scene. And, there was the Dave Dominy and all the tracker guys. But we were all on riding Bennett's, and we were riding big wide wheels on Bennett's. We weren't into the wide. They hadn't invented the wide trucks yet. So we were up there having, just amazing fun. Right away, with Piercy, the money thing comes out. And we start bringing $3 and $4 to enter. So we'd enter these little slalom weekend races. There'd be a slalom and then a giant slalom. we'd all throw our money into the pot. There'd be like $60, $50.
That's good.
And there's a lot of guys who are into it that throw their money in and never won. But there's about 5 of us that would always win. And I don't, and to this day, I don't know how those guys that were like secondary guys kept putting their money in, you know, and I'm just going, well, okay.
Do you remember any of those guys? Just give props to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, well, there's Lance Smith, and there was Steve Sherman a year or two later. His dad was a timer. Brigg put together the timing system and the Hester series scoreboard. So Brigg was a part of my deal, and of course dae-won was right there from the start. She's down there with the stopwatch at the bottom with a, you know, it was a on your mark, get set, go, you know, and it would be like a stopwatch coming down the hill. It's totally inaccurate, but it was
close.
It was accurate enough.
Yeah, for back then.
You know, nowadays it's 100, 200 thousandths of a second, but now it's back then it was like 2/10 of a second.
Hey, come on.
Everyone's within 2/10 of a second.
It was for $50.
It was for you'd win $50. You'd win $38 for first and $17 for second and $12 for third place, and dude, we were pro skaters.
Yeah,
it was so cool.
Yourself, though.
Yeah, so and every once in a while we got to go to a pro contest up in like Ventura and race against Sims and race against guys that we'd heard of in the magazines, and we got in the magazines and we started becoming known guys. Sk8board, myself, Piercy, Ryan, Mike Williams, and every one of them had a different personality. Every one of them were really cool.
You know what? Piercy and Williams are pretty close.
As far as what its
personality,
I think Ryan with the partnership. The partnership was Piercy and Ryan.
Okay,
Mike Williams was there because they were all surfers from Sunset Cliffs. They're all kind of the same world. They all came from surfing. All these original Psalm guys were all surfers. Piercy was more of a skier guy because he had that style. Right. He was more of a skier than all of us, and he brought that to the Psalm world, which I don't think was the fastest style. But he looked really good. He looked faster than anybody by far, and it was.
Was Weaver ever up there?
Weaver was up there, but he was very young, and he was doing the cross. He's doing the style thing and stuff. We were at a party about 8 years ago, and Weaver, there's a picture of all of us old school guys, and Weaver's in front going like this. He's just acting like a style. I went, my God, that guy's got so much freaking self humor. What's it called? God, he's just such a cool guy. Greg Weaver turned out to be a really cool guy.
He turned out. I thought he was really cool.
He was a cool guy, but he came out. Yeah.
He's just a really.
He has
guy.
A sense of self. He just has a way of laughing at himself that's just this really funny. So anyway, start of La Costa. We got we're at La Costa, and that's got the start. And then we went down to PB Surf Shop in San Diego's pretty prominent shop. Was purchased by Gordon Smith from the guy that owned the shop. They put 50 boards out on the driveway and sold them for $25, and. Wow. It was unbelievable, unheard of. They just got not boards, surfboards.
Surfboards.
And these are $100 surf. A new board was $170. These some were $25, and we're just going, God, I want to buy some. They're such a good deal. Anyway, that started PB Surf Shop as being a, Bill Andrews and Jerry Lund. There's a couple guys that were prominent San Diego guys that took over the management of that shop for Larry Gordon, who purchased a really well-located shop down in San Diego. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember going to that shop.
I went to the shop, and Gary Keating, and who died, unfortunately. We didn't know about bipolar. Back then, we didn't know that. A little bit of what's it? What's the
dyslexia or
bipolarism? And what's the drug they give them that just makes it?
Lithium or
lithium. They didn't know about lithium. Then Gary offed himself, and it was just like over a girl and over God and drugs. God, drugs. God, drugs. He just was mixed up, completely mixed up, and he was certainly medically bipolar. But that was Gary Keating. He could have been the next. He could have been the next Rusty, the next, the next Quicksilver, the next Danny Kwok, he was primed to become a big guy in the surf world and skate world. anyway, he was there, and he'd make our boards for us, and we'd let them put the boards all together. You know, we're 25 years old. We started at 25. So we were all 25 years old. Sk8board's 24, and Piercy and those guys were probably 23, 24. And so that's when we started our pro career in skateboarding.
Wow.
You know, yeah, it was a golden era.
Yeah.
We talk about that.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's true though. I mean, you know, people need to know. That's why I like you to mention all the names that, you know, you're talking about.
Well, the top names.
Those guys were in there.
The top names were Bob Piercy, myself, Bob Sk8board, and Mike Williams, and Tommy Ryan, and those were the top.
Throw Conrad in there.
5 guys. Conrad was a stylist, and he didn't really do really well as far as the placing and the money, but he looked like Piercy. He copied Piercy, and God, he looked good too. I mean, looking good was part of it.
Absolutely.
You didn't have to be. I didn't look good. I was the fastest guy for a lot of times, but I didn't look as fast. And I was in a lot of pro events. When I was a pro skater, I was not the fastest guy. I was the 4th fastest. We'd all qualify to get our positions on the ladder, and I'd be 4th and 5th and stuff. I was never qualified first. That was Pierce. That was for those guys. They could put a burning run in. But when it got to man on man, like we used to race, I could kind of feel out the guy and race next to him, and then let him fall, and then back off, and then finish the course. You know, there's tricks you can do.
You're waiting for guys to fall. Come on, Henry. You're probably one of the biggest guys out there too.
I was 100. I'm sure. You know, in pro skate, when I was a pro skater, I was 204.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, you know, I've ballooned in my life. I've ballooned up to 249. You know, I was living in Texas and going to freaking Chili's, and you know, I lived a pretty gluttonous life for a couple. Got up to almost 250, and now I'm in keto. I've done keto for a year, and then the last 4 months I've done carnivore. So I eat meat and avocados for fat, and some electrolytes, and I'm at 187.
Yeah, good. Yeah, look good.
And I've been there for a while. Yeah.
Look good for your age.
Oh, I'm so freaking sexy. I'm so sexy.
Okay, well, let's get back to this.
Diamonds
so where are we on 8? Okay.
Oh God, that's an embarrassing.
So
photo.
Anyway, no, that's a great photo. I think those are even 360 shorts too, or they're Bidwells.
Canvas by Kate.
Oh, are they canvas by Kate?
I don't know. No, that was Birdwell.
Birdwell britches.
All you need to know is wide whale cords. Thank you very much.
That's right.
No, I couldn't. I was horrible in the parks. I couldn't do it. And I was a pro. I was a pro at the El Cajon skateboard park. I couldn't ride there. I just showed up.
Do you remember Lane Oaks there?
Yeah,
he was
maybe. There. Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, Lane was always there.
Yeah, that was at El Cajon Park. It was.
He worked.
I don't know why I drove all the way out there. I was a fool.
Yeah, I actually skated at one time, and that was it.
Big bowls. They had the big bowls, and then big snake runs, some tight snake runs. Back in the day, you know, when they first had the first skate parks, they'd build them and you couldn't skate it. You know, they built that one, the concrete wave, and there was a couple snake runs that you couldn't make it. You know, it would be it was just super hard. So anyway, this picture is at La Costa.
Right.
And that was at the second hill of La Costa. Now all those
I just
hills.
wanted to show some chill pictures.
Yeah, no, that's cool. All those hills, they're full of houses and palm trees.
Yeah, it's all houses.
You would not recognize it from that picture.
Those are all $1 million homes that are all.
Yeah, we raced there. We raced there for a couple of years after we kind of got kicked out of. Not we didn't get kicked out, but the road that we first started on called Black Hill, and you see Brian Logan and Bruce Logan on the black asphalt. I think pretty much people have seen those pictures. That was Black Hill. Yeah. And the other one was Alicante, which is lasted a 3 years there. And we'd go off. We weren't there all the time. Bob and myself and Piercy, we weren't there every weekend because we would go off to, Akron and Nassau. We'd go to big contests. Yeah. You know. Well, at that time too. Now we got picked up by Gordon Smith. Yeah, Gordon Smith. We made I rode their regular slalom board, their regular model, the round one. Yeah. Rode that for about a year, and then we said, "Hey, let's make a Henry Hester model," and that board came about.
Okay, well, wait a minute. So when you got sponsored, did you get sponsored by the surf shop down in PV?
At first, everyone was through the surf shop.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
I didn't
very
know if
small. It
Larry
wasn't international. It wasn't all California. It was very...
Local.
Skateboarding was localized
Local,
to
man.
La Costa and San Diego and Dogtown and LA, Dogtown, and this Upland.
Yeah.
You
Badlands,
name it,
the Badlands boys.
none of that existed.
Who was
none of that.
Yeah,
was
that
there
not yet. It hadn't started yet. But who were the big slalom guys from like the Badlands area? Was
what was it?
you know who you forgot? Go ahead, Evans.
Steve Evans and Charlie Ransom were the two guys, but that was later. That's in 2000.
Okay.
They came down in the second era of slalom, the 2000s. That I ran a couple of Hester La Costa Open events and stuff.
Oh man,
yeah, that's the first era right there, and that's me with hair, Bob Skolber with hair, Bob Piercy looking on, and we're all sitting there. We're all friends, you know. There was rivalries, but we were all hanging out. We were friends and stuff. They were a little bit different clique, you know. I was a nerd, you know. I wasn't taking drugs or drinking or any of that stuff. I'd go in hotel rooms during this period and work on my bearings and work on the wheels and the boards and selecting what board I wanted to ride the next day. And
those salt and pepper shakers?
Yeah.
No, but there are these round cones that were plastic. They're about this big and really kind of that small, you know.
Yeah. Almost like that bottle.
Very similar, but it's way smaller.
Skinner.
And you know, you'd breathe on them and they'd fall over.
Oh wow!
So yeah, but we used those for a little while. I like that van back there with the surfboards on it. What a classic period picture, you know. Goodrich took that. See, Goodrich was in it way back when. Goodrich is right there. Yeah, right there with Warren Bolster, and of course Goodrich became such a good photographer with his blurred motion sunset shots. And I think he came up with that.
I still think to the day he had the best shots in the magazine by far.
So good.
I hate to, you know, I'm not trying to say anything.
Well,
you know, Jim would also spend 3 hours, 4 hours just setting up.
Yeah,
you know
he'd set a light up, and then and you know, a light to highlight, you know, Doug Saladino, and then you run the camera at 30 speed, and you'd run it on flash, so the flash would go, it'd be blurred, and then there'd be a flash. And those shots were probably, to me, the best shots ever of skateboarding. Yeah, back in.
I mean, he took some incredible shots of Pineapple.
Goodrich, you're a good photographer.
Yeah, Goodrich, you always did a great job.
Yeah.
You know, question, but he. You know, I mean, he took great photos. There's some insane photos of Dennis, Pineapple.
Yeah,
you know, all of us were lucky
Steve Cathy.
he was here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one strobe shot of Steve doing a nose wheel was, you know.
Yeah, that's all Goodrich.
Incredible. Yeah.
You know, and Warren's looking at that and goes, "Well, I got to hire the guy. He's that good." Warren Bolster.
Well, he was smart, I guess. For finally figuring out, putting somebody to make him look better and his whole magazine look better.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, there's no question about that. But anyway, okay, so we're still. Tell me about like Gordon Smith, like skating times.
Gordon Smith,
all your travel. You had Tracker. Did you have any other sponsors at that time?
I was sponsored by Tracker and then Road Rider Wheels.
Oh, yeah, Road Riders.
And Road Rider 4s, of course.
Right.
And we decided to do a Road Rider Hester wheel. Before I left to ride for Santa Cruz, we went to. I got a wheel model.
Yeah.
From.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute, I guess.
No, we'll pull it up. We'll find it. Yeah, because I mean.
Regardless, I was skating for Gordon Smith. I think it was $175 a week or something like that, and I tripled it by going to Santa Cruz. But you know, McIntyre didn't really want to think that the slalom was pulling much juice. I was a world champion by 4 or 5 times, you know, at that point, and you know, it wasn't where the sales were. Stacy. It was the Warp Tail that Stacy came down and got his deal with Gordon Smith. Should have been Steve Cathy. Well, Steve Cathy had a model too, but you know, Stacy came in as a guy in front of some other guys that probably should have been promoted. But Stacy was so big, and he had, you know, all the Zephyr guys had fallen out, and they all tried to find different places. You know, Alva went to Logan, and Jay Adams went to. You know, they all went different places, and. is sort of a free for all once the Zephyr thing kind of blew up. Somehow you saw the movie. You know?
I just don't think it's ever had the money to be able to hold those guys.
Right. And it was unfortunate because that was where they were really strong, was the Zephyr team with the blue shirts and the slide outs and the Burts and all that stuff. Incredible period.
I think they probably learned all that from Stacy anyway.
And
Stacy was the king.
Stacy and I were really good friends at contests. We'd go, oh man, there's Stacy, oh man, there's Hester. And we'd hang out with each other at the contests and pump our boards just all over around, just around the streets, just doing that and keep going and going. He could do that. Yeah. Very few guys could do that at the time. And he did it on a freaking Zephyr. Look at those wheels.
So do you think you were the first guy to have a pro wheel?
I don't know. They say that. I probably.
And how much did you have in the design? Because is that just like
that was my design? It was 38 millimeters by 61, or whatever they were. It was narrower. It was narrower than the Road Rider 4, and I felt that the narrower wheel would switch edges faster. Sort of like the cutaway on the board too.
Right.
So, that was a theory, and it worked for surf stance. It worked for that era.
Okay. No, I was just kind of curious as to where. I mean, I remember when the Hester wheel came out. I just before that.
You were born.
You got me only by a couple of years.
How old are you?
62.
71.
Yeah, okay. 9 years.
God, I'm so old.
Hey, man, we're all getting there.
You got me by 11.
So
11?
Anyway,
yeah, thanks.
So anyway.
71 years old.
71. Well, no, I was just kind of curious as far as like the wheel came. I just got my first thing of saved up money for my first Road Rider 4s.
Yeah.
That I got.
Well, the wheel came out as for slalom. Guys loved it. It worked really well. The Mocha, the red Mocha urethane wasn't the fastest. It wasn't as fast as the Kryptonics, but the shape was good. The Kryptonics came out with a narrow wheel, and actually they started lathing down the wheels, the green ones, for Piercy and Ryan. So their wheels are the same as mine. Sometimes they even got narrower.
Wasn't it the hardness though that
with
determine the speed on that?
Yeah, and they would make my wheel for Sk8board, myself, and Hudson. They'd make my model wheel, which is a good shape, using the Park Rider material, which is a lot harder and faster.
Okay.
And that worked really well.
Okay. How many other guys are riding the Henry Hester wheel?
Sherman and Lane Oaks and Marty Schaub and a lot of the guys. I think maybe Mike Williams rode them. I don't think Piercy and Ryan were on Crypto and they were fast. They had the thing with Kryptonic wheels back in the day was that they were really resilient. In other words, they had a bounce factor that allowed them to go across.
Those things were like rubber.
Asphalt. They were but they were really fast and they were sticky and they were really good.
Was that I don't know what the difference was between the reds and the greens that they had back then.
I don't either.
Okay.
I know that they were green.
Softer.
They rode green for a while.
Yeah. The greens
and they'd take them and get them laid down narrow like my wheels, and they'd have the same thing. And we all rode sharp edges around these, instead of conical like you guys rode.
Yes.
We rode sharp edges so that you could turn and you'd know where you were. You wouldn't be off off the edge.
Yeah, just give you better traction too.
Better traction, or more of a where you are on the turn. With a conical wheel, like they had on Gravities and stuff and the longboards, those wheels floated. They'd float and stuff, and you can't tell where you are on a turn. With a square wheel, and especially on the inside. Yeah. And that has a lot to do with going from Bennett's to trackers,
right?
Because that inside dimension went from here to here, and we didn't have to use the big wide wheels.
Did you ride Bennett's a lot?
Yeah, we all rode Bennett. Everyone in the industry rode Bennett's and the Bennett Pros. There was nobody that rode because Indies didn't exist.
Right. Well, Indy took the same geometry from the Bennett.
Kind of, yeah. They took a very turning. Pretty much the same. They took a very turnable geometry, and I got the second. The Indies, the name Indy came from the word independent suspension. They originally made wheels that had these little bars with the trucks, and they were independently suspended, kind of like a Volkswagen torsion bar suspension. And those worked really well for slalom. But Blackheart's was their first guy They got all the trucks for the indies, and they'd break, and you'd eat crap. I mean, it was horrible. We'd break them, because they were learning how to make them, but they were super sticky. We'd run them on the back of our boards, and it was like guys are pissed at us. They thought we were cheating. Pierce, you guys shouldn't be allowed to use those trucks. They're so fast. And Hudson, myself, Sk8board, we were just like beyond speed with those things.
Was that Hudson or Hudson?
Hut, H-U-T.
Okay, Johnny.
The Hut Tuck.
Johnny.
Yeah, John Hudson. Anyway, we had those trucks, and it was, and Blackheart tried to ride them in pools, because the idea was to ride these, that Fausto and Eric from Indy, they were inventor guys, and they thought that it would be more of a cush ride through the transition, but really what it did is it slowed the board down. Like you had soft wheels, it would slow the board down through the transitions, because they would flex, and it wasn't good for pool riding. It never was. But the name Independent that you guys all ride nowadays originally came from independent suspension trucks.
Weren't those?
That's pretty rad.
Didn't they design up?
History from Henry.
Came out.
What's that? Strokers came out first. Strokers were.
Didn't they take some of the geometry?
No, there's no geometry. It had nothing to do with Indy at all, but they were the same company. Strokers turned like this. They turned like rack and pinion, and it was weird because they'd turn like this. They wouldn't lean steer. They'd turn like rack and pinion, based off leaning, and it was it was a mechanical ride. And there were times in the 2000s where some guys rode strokers with the right kind of wheels and did all right with the stroker on the front. Or was that the seismic? That might have been the seismic truck in the front and a tracker in the back. There's a lot of times in this
seismic
in the front. Yeah.
Okay.
They worked all right. I rode them for like that.
I mean, those guys are still making trucks and stuff, man.
Dan Gessmer.
Yeah.
Dan Gessmer was the guy that did the ballet on the skateboard. Went around the, they went around the thing.
Kind of like
a
dance.
Like a dance skateboarding, and we all laughed at him. That dude is smart. And that guy is manly, and he knows Europe, and he knows how to drink a glass of wine. I mean, he's very, Dan Gessmer is a very, very
well-rounded,
high human, in my opinion.
Okay, awesome. Hey, just for real quick though, I just wanted to thank everybody out there right now that's out there on YouTube land. Hope you guys are enjoying Henry and I.
I'm faking it.
Yeah, man. And if you do like it, man, please hit subscribe and like. And we're gonna make it happen again and again for you.
And hit that little bell. Hit that little bell so that you get notified when there's a new Sk8 Nation video.
The next one, yeah, that's right, man. So tell me some stuff.
It's fun. This is great.
So tell me some stuff.
I love Andrick. Tell you what, I worked with Andrick at Osiris Skate Shoes, and he showed me the ropes when I didn't have any idea what was going on. I'm the sales manager, and he's handling big accounts, and he was my savior. I didn't know what, the D3. I didn't know what shoes it was.
Man, you got dropped into a snake pit.
Oh God, yeah. They threw me out of there 8 weeks. It was the first time I went, okay, I can't do the bro hand shit. First time I just felt really old. Yeah, thank you. Perfect word.
So tell me about your contest experience. I know we kind of touched on how you missed Del Mar. You missed Del Mar because you were here a month late. I missed Del Mar because I wanted to go skate.
Old enough?
No, I was old enough, but I didn't.
Del Mar was in 1975.
Yeah, 75.
I think.
Skating.
Really?
Yeah, I went to Carlsbad.
You were like 7.
No,
you were young, dude.
I think I was.
Oh, really? You skated Carlsbad? You skated Carlsbad all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was okay. So I'm 25, and you were.
But you just missed it. You didn't. Miss
I missed it because I was in Sun Valley.
And I decided to go skate somewhere else. I was like, if everybody's over there, no one's going to be here, so let's go there.
Right.
So, and I didn't care. I wasn't. I didn't look at magazines or anything else.
Yeah, you're telling me that earlier. You're telling me that earlier. That's really interesting that you weren't really a big magazine guy, and that's why you probably missed the first Hester Series event that you should have been in because you were better than any of the guys, or you're better than.
I was there. I was there.
Yeah.
I was watching it because I worked at Spring Valley. I was cleaning up. I had to clean up all those hay bales, man.
We put hay bales all around. We put hay bales all around the pool to hang banners on. You know, this day where there wasn't a fence or something. There was dirt. I mean,
so
what about the Hester series?
Yeah.
We started.
Well, no, we're going to get there.
Are we there?
We're almost
there was a theory.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about contests. You know, like some of the funny things that would happen at contests, either between athletes or just, you know, going to Colorado and getting thrown out of hotels like we did when we were there.
Yeah. That's McIntyre's world, the food fight.
Yeah, all the food fights.
Well, that happened. I was away from a little bit away. I go with all the GNS guys. They're kids, you know, the Pineapple and Tim Martinez. Yeah. They're like 15 years old.
13.
They're kids, you know. And I'm going, I don't want to hang out with the guy hanging out with the kids and all that. I want to, you know, we'd go off. We had I had my girlfriend Ann and Bob's sister, Bob Skolberg's sister. We were tight, and we'd go there and. We would go have our own dinner, and so we weren't involved too much. Okay. I wasn't involved too much in the food fight, yellow shirt, McIntyre era. That was him and a bunch of kids.
Okay, all right. Well, I know Steve and Doug and Dennis and
they were.
Jim was always in on those too.
Yeah. So, Goodrich is filming the whole thing.
Yeah, McIntyre would always seem to start it and then run.
Yeah,
hit and run, man.
Yeah, it was. You know, to me, I'm going to be honest. It was kind of childish, and I just didn't want to be. I was more at the higher. I was more at a world championship level of a skater.
Yeah.
And those guys weren't there yet.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like trying to be pro and stuff like that, and not.
Okay, going back. Let's get with you and Alva, because there's some footage out there.
Well, there's a great race when I think it was 1976 or 1977. Hang 10 had put on a world contest, and it was filmed on ABC Wide World of Sports. And Tony Alva had won every event. He won the 360. He won the bull riding. He won all the different events. The high jump. They had all this stuff. But he was coming in to the slalom event as first overall, right? Yeah. Deservedly so. The guy could get on a freaking slalom course and haul ass on a really funky Logan kicktail Bruce Tony Alva model. And I have no idea, because we're riding these rocket ships with freaking trackers and this and the wheels and the bearings and all that stuff. And he gets out there he gets on a Logan.
Yeah.
Well, I considered
3/4 inch.
I considered Brian. I'm sorry, Brian. I love you. We're going to have dinner next week. I considered the Logans not quite as high tech as some of the other stuff.
Well, they were just.
Alva gets on one of those things, and we're in the finals.
Yeah.
We're in the finals, and it's the end of the day, because we were the last two guys for first and second. It was $1,000. It was aired on
big money.
They were all $1,000 every event. They were.
Oh.
It was aired on ABC Wide World of Sports, and the guys, I forgot the guy's name, was the announcer, and he was talking to Alvin, some of that stuff I forgot. McKay? Yeah. Jim McKay?
Yeah, Jim McKay. Wow.
McKay, and he was in his yellow blazer with the ABC on him going, holy shit, this is big time. I had no idea there was like 20 million people watching this ABC Wide World of Sports. It was a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we take our first run, and we take our first run, and the lights don't work. The timing lights, the beams don't work. Okay, we'll go back up. We take another run. The lights didn't work. Take our third run, and the lights don't work. The TV guys are freaking out. Dennis Schufeld's the announcer, and everyone's freaking because the light can't get the lights working. And the only way to try the lights is to go through them on a race. So we're on I think it was a fourth race on this first course. You switch courses.
Right.
Fourth race, I think it was, if not the third. But anyway, I'm doing good runs. Finally, and it goes back to how I was a Mongo pusher.
Yeah. Oh,
so I'm pushing. So I'm pushing Mongo, and as you know, pushing
from
Mongo, you push with your front foot, and then put your front foot up like that, and that's a lot of steps. I'm going to try to get this on the. you push, you go like this, and then set your feet. So there's more steps than Alva. All he's got to do is go like this and put his foot in the back, So I didn't really explain that perfect, but everyone knows between Mongo and regular, Alva was regular, I was Mongo, and it was a lot more on a push start. So the first runs, I do great. I think I beat him a bunch of times, but the lights weren't working. Finally, I get a bad push start and get my front foot kind of hooked over the front of the board wrong. And once you get it like that in slalom, you can't move it. There's no moving it because you're going fast. So I hooked up the front truck with my front foot and fell on my face on national TV, and it was a bitchin' crash. I mean, I just ate it.
We're going to show it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to put it in there. We're going to put the
well, yeah, you can watch that, and it was brutal. However, and in the day, it was a 0.7 of a second penalty going into the next run. The course was 7 seconds long, so it's 10% of the course. You couldn't make that up. Between Alva and I, we were within 0.3 of a second. He was fast, but I have a 0.7 of a second disadvantage. The second race, I got this insane start, really good start. Push, get on the board. Bam! I was running. Oh, Henry's got a good start, and I just flew, and I beat him by 8 feet or so, and I had a really good. He didn't have to go that fast because he knew he had the advantage, but I out-skated the advantage and won by 0.1 of a second. Well, that was incredible. The backstory? You want to know the backstory?
Absolutely.
I don't think the timing lights ever worked. I think we were able to switch courses because okay, great, finally Henry falls. Yeah. We can switch courses and get on with this thing, right? That all wasn't on TV, all the first runs that the timing lights didn't work. Well, we took the second run, and I beat him pretty well. Yeah. And I think they called it. I don't think the lights were working then either. Okay, I think they called it. I think Schufelt, and I don't know, Dennis Schufelt would be the guy that would know. Okay. And I think they called that I beat him by 8.
Next time I see him, I'm going to ask him then.
Yeah, you should, because I think I beat him.
I'm going to have him on the show.
Yeah, he'd be fun. He can. I think that I think I beat him by 0.8 of a second. Yeah. I think it was a pretty good distance. Yeah. But he didn't have to win that race. He could just be within 0.7. He knew that. He was smart like that. He knew that he could just.
Well, I'm sure somebody was talking to him too.
He knew that he could just trail me, and that's how I won contests. Yeah. If I had a disadvantage, I just stay on the guy, and then I didn't have to win. Yeah. A lot of events that I won that I wasn't I was second place, but overall, the combined times. Yeah. So anyway, he got it. Alva got it. He understood.
Man,
he wasn't bummed out. I won. I don't think the timing lights were working. To this day, I don't think those lights were working. I think they made a call, and it was a pretty good call. I was pretty far ahead of him, but yeah.
Well, I watched.
Now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah, but I watched that fall of yours. You hit the third cone, and then you landed on the first cone. That cone was
landed on the cone right there,
right there. That was a bad. And I watched it. I was like,
I did the same thing in Akron, Ohio. I crashed on another CBS Sports Spectacular thing or whatever it was in Akron, Ohio, and I crashed so bad. Came back. Skolberg. I'm first and second with Bob Skolberg, national TV, the California Freeformer event. I'm just like wasted. I crashed at 30 miles an hour and I was trying to slow my. So I chipped out and just went flying and landed on my hip, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And Bob goes, Henry, you gotta get up there and skate again. Come on, it's TV. And I was gonna give up and just let it be. That was the run, but we had to switch courses. Come on. And I pulled out of the gates on the second time, and I was hurting so bad. And I pulled out, and I went, and Bob went, and it wanted. But
I mean, did you have road rash and like everywhere?
Well, I had from down on my pocket all the way up to here. I was absolutely purple. The doctor said. The doctor, when he saw me in San Diego, I was in a wheelchair at the airport on the way back. I couldn't walk. It stiffened up. Blood stiffens up. Yeah. And he says, you probably lost a pint of blood within your system in this thing. I mean, I hit hard.
Yeah. No, I saw it, man. It was nasty.
Oh, God.
So, speaking of that, then, over the career of doing that, what was your worst injury? I mean, did you break bones?
No, I didn't break any bones, but I did some big crashes. I did a couple ankle rolls, and that ended up later in life to where I had to have an ankle fusion, 2 fusions, and then eventually an ankle replacement.
Oh, wow.
An ankle replacement.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I know. There's pictures on Facebook or something of this mechanical thing inside. So I have a mechanical ankle. Like people have.
That was you.
Yeah.
I remember seeing something like that. I was like, I never saw that before.
It's a mechanical. It's in me right now. I mean, I can't.
So you go to the airport, you light out the metal detectors.
Yeah. Well, I have a hip. I have a hip too on this side, a hip on this side, an ankle on this side. So I'm kind of all screwed. My body from the waist down is pretty much. My knees are okay.
Yeah, you got away with that because my knees are shot.
Yeah, my knees came out all right, and I did a lot of bump skiing, and I did some avancement moves. Avancement means sucking it up, and I did a lot of that in my youth, surfing.
So did you ever try the Claire?
You know what? I tried this stuff, and this is cool. What's his name?
Tibbs.
Tibbs gave me this stuff, and it's really cool. Look at that, Tibbs.
Yeah.
Huh?
There it is.
So what it is, and I'm going to say what I think it is, which is probably not what it really is.
Okay.
But it's this paste type stuff that you put on your skin.
It's all natural.
It's all natural, and it's this weird pasty stuff that you put on your skin like this. But he put it on my ankle because I have the bad ankle, so he put it all over my ankle. And then what happens? What happens is that it.
You can lick it. It's there.
Really?
Wipe on that.
Tibbs, I love you, man. Tastes good. It's like mud. It's like mud. This stuff is like mud. So, so.
It actually is mud.
It is mud.
Or somewhere,
it's a trip.
Yeah.
You have me lick it and it's mud. Well, anyway, it goes on your.
It's all natural.
You put it on my ankle. You put it on my ankle, my bad ankle, and it soaks out some of the. I don't know what it does, but it turns into a hard. It gets clay. It's like clay that dries.
Yeah.
And there's something about it that helps your muscles, your bones, and stuff. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I like it. I have a bottle of it. I have a tube of it in my car right now outside.
There it is.
Yeah, clear.
Beautiful.
It's good stuff.
Yep.
It's a trip. It's if you're really having some problems with a wrist, you're bringing back a wrist that you broke or something like that, and you really want to
knees, elbows,
knees,
shoulders.
Elbows.
It goes everywhere.
Yeah. And enter in the code Sk8board Nation to receive 10% off.
Yeah.
If you guys, want to try any,
it's cool stuff.
It's good stuff.
And I like Tibbs as a fun skater because he's just, God dang, the guy rips on these longboards. He's bro deal and skates at Poods, and he's a good.
He just talks really fast.
He's a ripping. Oh yeah. Tibbs, I love you.
Everybody loves Tibbs.
Yeah, man. He's a good kid. He's really a trip.
Is that in there? Darned.
Anyway, okay. Where are we at?
So where are we? Yeah, let's hit 11 up. And
how many are there? I mean, are we okay?
50 of them.
Are we okay?
We're good.
I'd go all day long.
Oh no, yeah, okay. So
there's my skate model.
Yeah, in fact, your pro model, Henry. Why don't you talk about it?
You have one?
There it is, man. Yeah, I just found it.
It's the board I brought. I can't tell.
There we go, right there.
Yeah, right there. Yeah,
right here. This is my pro model board. This is the Hester series sticker. It's kind of cool.
That is awesome, man.
And I got a signed one.
I used to have one.
I have a signed one. And these are the Hester wheels. These wheels.
Those are them.
This set.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I bought this set for $400 on eBay.
Yeah.
I did on my own wheels.
Yeah.
And those and they weren't even NOS. They were used.
Yeah.
They're in great
No, they're-
condition.
They're
Good
in
wheels,
good
though.
enough condition
Yeah.
to put a board together. Now, I have a more original one that was given to me from Peggy out in Florida.
Oh, okay. I don't know. What Peggy
I think she's from Florida, but Di Deuce and organized it. Anyway, I will set that board up with these trackers and my wheels. But
Wow.
yeah,
That was it,
I can't really skate these guys.
But did you just keep your feet in here? Or did you ever go there?
The foot went right like that, so it'd be really quick back and forth, maybe like that.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of times I had my foot sideways. It was the days of yore. Trust me, the slalom, the Lynn Kramer years, all that. Everyone rides differently. They have a kicktail with
Right.
concave, and then their boards don't flex. These boards flex, and they're just.
Well, you can see in this set. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no time nowadays. There's no time for flex in slalom. The boards are stiff, graphite, and just
Yeah.
all the turning happens with the front trucks, and they have these trucks that are. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more
like
of that.
reversible kingpin. Right?
Yeah. I wanted to see more instead of the trucks going through the kingpin. They ride them. They ride them really loose in the front.
So that's kind of like the same thing.
And,
like the Phoenix, was it Phoenix trucks?
Yeah,
they
they're
were wings. Because like Mike Williams was big.
really loose in the front.
Yeah, super
and
loose.
then the back is up on the kicktail, so it back hardly turns. It just leans. It's maybe about 5 degree. I don't know. Richie Carrasco, you could explain that someday. Another guy.
Yeah, I got to get Richie on here too. I like Richie.
And I think he invented that geometry. The back wheels just following the front wheels are super floppy.
Yeah.
You can go 50 miles an hour and not have speed wobbles because the front trucks don't correlate to the back truck. The back trucks just basically lean and follow the front. And
so all the action's
in Texas,
yeah,
and that's where I raced Marty Shaw.
Okay.
In Texas.
This is a good story though.
2012.
Go ahead, tell us the story.
52 years old, something like that. I'm out in Texas, living there for a couple of years, and I was given the guy. I brought a bunch of Hester models out there, a row racing, some of my old models. I had 3 boards that I'm going to go race on these things, and I had practiced with Lou and with Greg Stubbs, and anyway, we practiced at the Cowboy Stadium. We're hauling ass. We're doing all right. Top 10. We're good skaters at the time, and I'm riding these flexible boards with the narrow tails and the whole thing, and those guys were all riding these Skate Kings. They look like a coffin. They're pointed in the front. They come down, and they had a kicktail, and they're riding this truck geometry that I didn't understand. And they said, Henry, you got to get off that stuff. You're blowing it. You can't. You're not going fast enough. Change your board to this. And it was Strochter. I forgot his name, his first name, but he had a board that was a Pavel, and it was sort of Pavel Skate Kings board, and they put me on that. I couldn't even turn. When you first get on a slalom board that's made for slalom, you can't turn it. You go, oh, and you fall right off the side. It's insane. It's crazy. It has nothing to do. If you tried Lynn's board, you'd fall off at first because they turn like a little kid's wheelie thing, They turn like that. The front turns what's like? What are those?
Like a crazy car.
Yeah, like a crazy car where they go like this. That's how the boards ride now. That's why they can make through those courses on a 36-inch board. Anyway, I got on that board, took one run. I went, oh, this is scary, and I took one practice run in between. This is during the event, and I'm like in qualifying. So I get up against this guy Gumby and out there and lost by 1 or 2 hundredths of a second. But I was still getting used to the board, but I lost. So that was my last race, and I lost it by 2 hundredths of a second to Gumby. Gumby, you suck. You suck. You suck. You suck. You suck. I love that guy. He was so cool. Anyway, that was really. Oh, and Marty Shaw. Marty drew me. Here's your story, Marty. Marty drew me in qualifying. I think he made sure that he drew me with it so that we'd race together. And he's at this time in 2012, he's on fire. He's really, really good. And he's, it's a ramp start and stuff. He's looking over at me. And he's going, "God, I'm going to finally get my revenge. Way better than I was. I'm going to get my revenge." And I'm going, "Oh, you know what? I'm not going to let this guy beat me. I'm going to give him a shot. I'm going to try. And I'm on this weird, wacky board and stuff that I didn't know how to rode really. But I'm not going to use that as an excuse, Marty. But he's like this." Then I'm going, I look over at him. It's 12, 10, 15 feet over there. And go, "Holy crap, this is scary, So I get like that too. I could barely make it down the ramp, and it was, he just kicked my butt. We went down the course, side by side. He kicked my butt by 10 or 12, 20 feet and beat me. And that was what he wanted to do in life. And
there it was.
Dude, you beat me.
Yeah. He quit, I hear. Right after that race.
He did? Oh, no. Yeah, that's done it. All done. So, no, I mean, he continued to race on the Skate Kings.
Okay.
On the Skate Kings team with all the best skaters. Joe McDonald is like Lynn. Yeah. There's a guy, he's taken over the slalom.
On the men's side.
He's taken over the slalom organization for the United States, going to the Olympics and stuff like that. Joe McLaren, out of Colorado. He's like, he's like 18-time world champion. Lynn's 18. They're both just as good for male and female. But Joe McLaren was, that was a guy. And the reason I mentioned him was he was on the Skate Kings team with Richie Carrasco and Maria Carrasco's team, and they were the innovators of that, the way the boards ride. If you ever wanted to cruise on a board and ever you wanted to feel something different and feel a board that, I put a kid at the beach, it took him a minute, but he's going barefoot and he's just ripping on it after a while, a beach kid. If you ever want to ride something different, and you want to spend a little money because the trucks ain't cheap, and the boards. It's
about $300.
Yeah, it's a $300. It's $300 or $400 setup. Yeah. You can call Maria Carrasco up there at Skate Kings, and this isn't an ad, but I'll tell you, it's a fun board to have in your quiver.
Yeah,
you should have. I mean, they're just get a Lynn Kramer model.
Yeah, and Lynn's board's great.
Oh, her board, the new one with the pirate on there.
Yeah,
beautiful. Good job, Lynn. Yeah. But anyway, that board is top echelon of slalom boards, and you don't have to ride them in slalom. You can ride them on a pump track. It's the pump track thing. They just are faster.
The thing about it is Lynn is an engineer that's done her own board.
Yeah.
And it's got.
I like how she said it's sexy.
It's got everything on it.
Dude, that board's fast. No, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, that was really
Skate
good.
Kings. Sk8 Kings, and they, you can buy a complete slalom board, and if you're a well-seasoned veteran of skateboarding, you should have one of those along with all the other boards. You should have that in your.
There you go.
Look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I wanted to bring this up because this was like the next phase, and this is the skateboarders poll from 1978.
Wow.
Okay. And
it was a popularity contest with the magazine where the kids that had subscriptions would vote. They'd vote for their favorite skater.
Right.
I think Tony Alva.
Yeah, Tony Alva. And what really, for 78, I look at that, and there's a few names on there that actually aren't in the Hall of Fame yet.
Yeah.
But most of those guys are all on it now, I think.
G.A., Tom Hanaway, Jay Adams, Stacy Peralta, Greg Weaver, Ty Page, Bob Viniak, Waldo Altry, Bobby Pierce.
All those guys are in the Hall.
Shugo.
Those guys are all in the Hall of Fame. And I'll tell you what, this Hall of Fame, you might laugh at. You guys are thinking, they're so cool. But I'll tell you what, that's a real honor to get into the Skateboard Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I was in 2015. Bob Skolberg, my buddy, took him until last year, 2022, to get in. It's not to be taken lightly.
It's not. But, there's still a lot of people that are missing.
I think you might be missing in that. Are you in it? You got in it? You got it? Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
But anyway,
my thing is like Lynn Kramer. I just don't understand how Lynn's not in there, but I'm sure she'll
be in next year.
She'll probably be in next year, I would think.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't think a lot a lot of times it's easy to lose track of people's careers and what they've done in skateboarding and for how long, because she's been in it forever.
Well, she made board. She did CNC programming for
Taylor Dykema.
Taylor Dykema. She's ridden ramps. She's built ramps. You saw that interview. Yeah. She's built her own ramps. She's done all this stuff. She came around to Gordon Smith when I was the manager of Gordon Smith. That was the Neil Blinder and Billy Ruff and Chris Miller era. She came around looking for work at Gordon Smith, and I liked her so much. I couldn't hire her because we were getting Watson to make our boards, and we were, that was going well, and there was just no engineering involved at the time. But God, she was very, very smart and very knows her stuff.
Yeah, no question. Okay, so anyway, so the next part of your career, we're moving along in skateboarding, goes to Signal Hill.
No. That was during the slalom era, right?
Yeah.
1970s, what, 6, 7, 1977?
77, yeah. That was another one I could have gone to, and I did.
There it is. That thing, let me tell you the story of that.
I got to hear this.
I was working at I was the manager, not the manager, I was skating for Gordon Smith. Nothing to do with the day in, day out sales of skateboards, but I thought, well, how cool would it be to make a race shell? We saw a couple guys tucking behind some little skateboards that they were riding on their feet and stuff. How cool would it be to lay down and be in the shell and go super fast? And, I was always like hot rods and Bonneville salt flats. Yeah. You can see you can see the resemblance there.
Yeah.
But, and that was when we were racing it. That one was where we were racing at,
well, this is the true White Lightning, right?
That's when it was white.
That was when it was white.
Yeah. So
because
anyway,
the red one
that
says White Lightning on it.
That race had a story to it. But anyway, let me tell you about building this.
Let's do this.
We built this. We made a box, a 8-foot long, 9-foot long box of plywood, 2 feet tall, and poured it full of foam. They were blowing their own surfboard blanks in those days, so they had all this foam, and you mix it up, and it would go, it would just fill up. Yeah. So we have all the shapers and all the guys, Kip Fry, everyone's pushing against the box because it's starting to bow out and stuff. And the foam came off the top of the box, and we were able to hold it pretty square. And then this guy, Paul Ryan, whose dad was the golf pro in La Jolla, Paul Ryan, a shaper, said, I'll do it, I'll shape it. So he shapes this thing with a tail thing on it and the whole thing. He shapes it out of that block of foam, and it was, those days they didn't have quite the tools that they have now, but man, it was a big job to shape it. So we shaped it, and we fiberglassed it with about 6 or 7 layers of regular fiberglass, and then it was full of foam, so I had to dig it out with a garden hoe, dig all that foam out, sand the inside of it, and get it to where it was a shell. Right. And no window, we cut a little window in it. And Dave, I never thought I was ever going to ride it. I'm a project guy. I built Jeeps, I built motorcycles. I like projects, right? There's no way I'm going to ride this. So all of a sudden, Fausto and Eric, who had stroker trucks at the time, we can get your trucks, we can get that thing to go down the hill, because the trucks did turn like that with a straight back truck in the back so it wouldn't wobble. I somehow, some guy came down in a truck and picked it up, took it up to San Francisco, and my God, those guys built a chassis, and they built, it was white, they painted it white. Fausto, okay. And Eric. They painted it just like that.
I wonder if they got it into because they were doing carts.
They're making
huge in that.
They were doing they were kart racers. And I raced karts too during the same time. I was racing, pro line. I was a full-on kart racer for 10 years, 1980 something. But anyway, this was back in 1976. And I showed up with that thing. And what happened is that a lot of guys showed up with ones that didn't work very well. And there's Mark Bowden from California Freeformer. He and Ty Page and a girl, Desiree, I don't know, I forgot who was.
What was her name?
Desiree, Tina Trefeffin. They all had these things, and they couldn't turn them because they were in like this, and there wasn't room to lean. I couldn't lean. I was so tight.
Were you laying forward, or
I was laying down forward, hands forward like this with a belt, with full helmet, and the trucks are it's like up here and just going down. But It wasn't scary for me because we at La Costa we had practiced and practiced and practiced. We'd go up 20 feet and then roll down. Okay, another 30 feet. Very slow practice process on this hill that had a run out. Well, Mike Williams got in it. Ellen O'Neill took a 30, 40 mile ride in it. Mike Williams put it up against the curb and scratched it up. But before it was painted, and it's still a piece of wood for the bottom piece. But those guys made a really nice chassis. You know, it was all freaking welded and stuff. And I flew up there, and we went to the San Francisco Giants base. We went to the baseball stadium, and rode it in the parking lot of the base. It had an angle, and I rode it without the thing on it for sure. Okay. And I rode it like this and turned it. I go, well, I could turn it, but I wasn't turning with my shoulders. I'd move my butt. You know, you'd move your butt from side to side, and that would give you enough movement to turn it. And rode it, and it worked great, and brought it down to San Diego, and took it to La Costa, and went up a little bit, and then a little further, and finally we get to the top of the hill, and I had a parachute, never really needed it. There was a brake pole that pulled a rubber tire, and they hit the ground, and we were able to feel very comfortable. I was able to feel very comfortable riding that thing, so that when I got to Signal Hill, and to get out there, there's all these guys that hadn't ridden their things. It's 60 miles an hour. It's a fast hill for them. And they go over this thing, oh my God, they're just wobbling and wiggling and just crashing in these boards. These 90-pound skateboards are going into the thing, breaking people's ankles. It was an absolute disaster. I'd be taking runs, and I was inside it going like this, trying to get it going faster, because I felt super comfortable in this car that Fausto and Eric made with stroker trucks on it. It was very stable.
Was anybody testing to make sure that they had
They thought they were weighing them. I think he had to be 60 pounds. The cart couldn't be more than 60 pounds.
Okay.
They weren't testing for safety. They didn't know about it.
No, but I mean, not just safety, but I mean,
O'Mahony was the guy. No,
it's a certain width of truck,
it had
anything too high.
It had to lean steer. It had to be able to lean steer.
Okay.
And the strokers leaned. When you leaned them, they went like that.
Yeah, okay.
They were all like a rack and pinion.
I mean, we've all seen the footage from Signal Hill.
The Signal Hill movie is a pretty good movie. You know what? I didn't see any of that stuff. Had I seen that, you know why? Because I was at the top of the hill, getting ready, the leathers and stuff, and I was secure in my deal. I would never have done it. Yeah. My dad's down in the desert, calling the mayor of Long Beach. You've got to stop this race. It's too dangerous. My son's doing this. And I'm 27 years old. My son's in this thing, and he's calling, trying to get it stopped.
Right.
From, Yeah.
Wow. That's
people got hurt. People got very hurt.
I know they did. I saw it. Somebody broke her back. The one girl who was racing.
Tina Turpin.
Yeah, she broke her back.
Well, if you saw the Signal Hill speed run movie on YouTube, you can see it.
Yeah, I gotta look that up.
It showed her story, and you're in tears.
Yeah,
honest to God, she was a beautiful girl. She was a kite.
Wasn't she also paralyzed from that?
No, she's all right.
Oh,
but she got her bones were broken and ribs, and she was probably popped a lung. She was almost died.
Yeah.
And then the guy that was my team guy, I can't think of his name. Terry Nails was a rocker. The guy was a rocker. He played with some big rocks, but he knew Fausto and Eric, and he got in his, and his was a metal one. He sat back in his like that, and he hit a car. He went through the hay bales and went. I saw it bounce off a lady's car. Luckily, he hit the rubber part of the car going about 40. He broke his arm. He did something back there. He was back from the hospital in an hour, ready to do it again. I was crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
His brake was the same as my brake. Fausto and Eric, same brake. His brake didn't work. Mine did. Had I seen him not make it, I would not have gone down the hill. I would have just said, no, sorry,
done.
Someone else do it. I don't want to do it. But I didn't see his fail with the same brake, same pad, same angle. I didn't see his fail. Anyway, enough of that. Signal Hill won it.
Yeah.
I got tied with David Dilberg. Next year, I got second place to Roger Williams, who had a freaking spaceship. Well, his was insane. His skate car the next year was
next level.
Next level. He had this door that popped open. A big old 8-foot parachute came out of it, and he went from 60 miles an hour to 0 in probably 50 feet. I mean, it was his stop.
He had disc brakes.
It was like he had disc brakes. His stop was insane.
Yeah.
His whole thing. No, he had a pad. Yeah. But the whole back of the thing lifted up, and it was just the pad.
Got it.
And man, I was so impressed. He won.
That's next level.
Yeah.
Having pads on that, I didn't even think about that.
Roger Williams.
So, did you ever do stand up there?
No, I could. Sk8board did it. I couldn't ride stand up downhill because my ankles have always been really bad. It's a weak part of my body are my ankles. Of course, I have a ankle replacement, and after having fusions on my ankle, and it's kind of put me out of skateboarding. I can't run things out and stuff. And since I'm Mongo, I can't do a foot stop. So I'm out. I'd love to skate. I'd love to take the skateboard right now and go skate down the street. But if I had to run out, that would break my fusion and all that. And the doctor says, you go out and mountain bike, you break your ankle, but we're going to take your foot off because you don't have any more left.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I have one doctor who says we don't put anything in the trash can.
Bring it up. Okay. So anyway, once again, everybody, thank you for watching. Again, if you're on YouTube, which you have to be if you're watching, hit the subscribe and like button. Doesn't cost you anything. It just helps us feel a little bit better, man. Yeah.
Doesn't it change the algorithm so that he gets more views and stuff?
Yeah, do that. Just always helps.
Doesn't hurt to hit like and subscribe.
Anyway, okay, so let's see. I'm trying to think of what came next.
First contest of the Hester series.
Okay, well, there it is, man. So here we are, the Hester series, man.
Yeah.
I got to know, you came from slalom background, big time, surfing,
$64,000.
Yeah, but how did you come up with doing a contest series for vert guys?
In Windansea Surf Club, I was the president back in 1970. We were charged with the bunch of us, Conrad and everybody, had a job to put on these contests called the Minahoney Contests, 12 and under. Michael Ho, if you know anything about surfing, he won one of the events when he was 12 in Kenny Morrow at La Jolla Shores. Well, anyway, I ran that contest as a young guy, and I learned how to, from Tor, who was the director, I learned how to go to the city, do this and do that, and put an event together, get insurance. So I did. I had that in my back pocket, and I ran a couple of those surf contests. Well, I applied that to skateboarding, and I saw that the pool skaters didn't have we were doing contests with slalom and spinner, 360s and high jump and Bruce Logan type, freestyle, flatland freestyle. And there was no event for pool riders. And I thought, wow, how cool would that be? All these guys are skating pools, and all of a sudden these parks are coming out with a real pool with like the Big O or whatever, with coping and a real pool, like where you skated at Spring Valley. Right. So I said, well, let's do a series of contests. I called it the Hester series because it's just so egotistical. and what else? But what was cool about it was that the manufacturers jumped in 100%. It was really good. It was not like California Freeformer or Tracker or NHS or any of the big companies at the time doing a contest where it was sort of our guys are going to win or whatever. Yeah, there's a great picture of the Hester ISA.
That was the first one. Yeah.
And there's the hay bales, and you were probably right there hanging out right behind the hay bales.
I was actually right here.
Anyway, so what I was saying is that the manufacturers jumped in. Those banners they paid me $300 a banner.
Okay.
And GNS wanted to have all the banners, and NHS, wanted tracker, wanted to have all. And I said, nope, just take one banner from each company. That means Powerflex, who wasn't necessarily a big company at the time.
Yeah.
All these other side companies could have presence at this first pool contest. And it was big. It was really important. There were, 50 people there watching. We didn't allow spectators. Remember? No bleachers, no spectators could get in because we knew we were doing experimental stuff.
What I don't understand is on that right side of the wall, there was a canyon behind that fence. Like,
oh no, they're about to fall off.
Yeah, I have no idea. No,
I
saw people standing there. I'm like,
no, they're hanging on. Yeah. A lot of the pools that we did the Hester series events in were not in parks that weren't open yet. It was all dirt. Like when we did the Big O event, when we did Newark, none of those parks weren't open. It was just like before the park opened. But it was good for the park owner because 2 months later, 2 months later, their park's in the magazine right when they're opening their doors, on their pro shop and stuff. And it was a really good. They really wanted to have the contest at their pool.
So was the ISA.
International Skateboard Association. That was run by Sally Ann Miller and Diane, and they were killing it. She became mayor of Irvine, I think, later in life.
Okay, no, it was just was that like the first association for skateboarding?
There was probably
NSSA,
not. Probably not.
Yeah, I remember like an NSSA.
Castle. It preceded Castle.
Yeah, it was before that.
Castle was sort of for the amateurs. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The only thing was Sk8board, but that was like
that was a manufacturer.
After the second Hester series.
No,
I think that was a manufacturer. The thing. Well, I'll tell you So we ran 4 contests one year.
Yeah.
Did really well. Everyone couldn't wait for the next thing. It was all in the magazines. All these guys were coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Olson, Mickey Alba, Steve Alba, Scott Dunlap. I mean, it's hard to go down the list, but all those guys, half of them were unknowns. Yeah. Warren Bolster's there, taking photos and stuff, and he needed to get a larger Rolodex.
Right
yeah, he needed to get a larger Rolodex. That guy, there was
Steve Olson.
None of those. There was a lot of guys there, especially halfway down the list. That list, halfway down that list.
Daryl Miller, whose name's on there too. Daryl Miller. And he just got in the Hall of Fame, I think. Yeah. But these guys weren't unknown. Yeah. And it was cool because I created Steve Olson. That's right.
Steve Olson comes to me all the time. And Andrick, Steve Olson, and that's you.
Saldino. No, we were all unknown. Nobody knew anything.
Eddie O'Gara missed that first contest and could have won the whole thing. He won every other contest, and he just missed winning the overall thing, I think. But he missed the first contest. Yeah. He had an obligation in Europe or something. Yeah. Anyway, it's a sad thing for Eddie because he could have been the first Hester Series winner. He would have been.
Well, no. Eddie was in Hester 2.
Oh, Hester 2.
Yeah, Hester 2.
Okay. Well,
he
missed the first one.
Yeah. He was still.
There's a lot of guys. The Tony Hawks, the Hossois, all those guys were too young.
Yeah.
You were kind of, they were too young to be in it.
Yeah.
They were in
they were just amateurs.
A little bit. They were amateurs. Tony Hawk was,
like
12
11 years old.
Yeah, 11 or 12 years. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we ran the contest. And I've told the story a number of times. We ran it on the rules that the guy in the blue shirt, Curtis Hesselgrave, and I came up with this stupid scoring system where we had a judge and a girl with a pad, and they judged every trick that the guy did in the pool for 2 minutes. For 2 minutes. 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Every trick. And Steve Alba's going, ding, ding. He's doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. And he just outlasted him and stuff, and he won the thing. But it was just,
he's a power skater.
And he was able to last. Yeah. Guys are going, Lane Oaks, Lumpy. Sorry, Lane.
He was smoking a little bit then, Jim.
Yeah. Oh, God, it was horrible. Anyway, so, the Dogtown guys came down there and did frontside grinds, ripped the coping off the pool, and that's all they had.
I just remember.
Frontside grind. Steve, Stacy could do some stuff. Yeah. Steve, Alva was the best skater, and he got 15th or 12th. So there was a changing of the guard, and then that went on to throughout all the contests. Yeah. And then we started. There's another thing I invented, which I thought was pretty cool. two things in that contest. Was one, longest carve. Who could do the longest carve without coming off over the tape?
9 feet,
That was cool.
32 inches.
And then, what's that?
9 feet, 32 inches.
Who was that?
Kirk Talbot.
Talbot pumped into the pool. Talbot's going, he pumps into the pool, goes up on the coping. You know, you had to have, because the tape was just on the tile, built right below the tile. And there might be a picture. Anyway, Talbot goes, and his board's going like this on the coping, and he's flying. And he came down and made it. It was insane, and no one could believe it. But, you know, there's pictures of Saladino trying. There's pictures of guys eating it, trying to do that. They killed themselves. Yeah. Kurt Kimball. There's guys, you know, George Orton. There's guys that, Dennis Martinez. There's guys that were getting knocked out. And you have to stop the contest, and while the ambulance went for the next ambulance to come, right? Yeah. You couldn't do the contest. Anyway, that was fun. Longest carve, but another event that was really fun was doubles.
Okay, yeah,
and you got Scott down. Who are the teams for the doubles? I can't read it from
Oaks, Martinez and Saldino, Olson and Dunlap, Sanders and Paul, Travers and Boyden, Cartum and Hoffman.
See, names that you don't know because they're just so...
George Orton and Arthur Vecchio, and Bowman and Senator. Wow, Bowman and Senator, really?
Yeah, no, the doubles teams, and they didn't know what they were doing. It wasn't until the next contest that Steve Cathey and Lane Oaks or whoever was, they practiced. You know, one guy would do a hand plant, the other guy would carve underneath them, and the next they do an air, and the guy would carve the other way, and it was, whoa, they're going to hit each other. It was, to me, I'm always a believer in throwing in an extra ball. Like, I think pro soccer, and this is, you guys can kill me, but I think pro soccer, you know, World Cup soccer, be so much more rad with two balls, huh? Yeah, you have a yellow one and a white one, and those guys, to me, they have to think about offense and defense, you know. Yeah, man. I think it'd be fun.
Well, yeah.
You know, but
let's start a new league.
2-ball league.
Yeah, 2-ball league.
You need 2 ball. You know?
And then the last 5 minutes, you throw 5 balls out there.
Yeah, throw another ball.
The goalies would get killed.
Oh God! But how many shots at the goal? It'd be, instead of 3 to 2 or whatever, it'd be like 20 to 18. You know, I think that would be a really fun game. A yellow ball and a white ball, and just go at it. Sometimes the ball would be down at one end, you know, both balls, and they're just shooting it into the.
Okay, anyway, we're
I digress. Anyway, the Hester series went off. We did the next one at. I think we did the next one at Big O with that capsule pool. That was beautiful. It was great. There's some gal shows up with earphones and earplugs and stuff, and you're making too much noise with the music. And we went like this. Okay. Walked that way, just walked her right out the freaking front of the pro shop. She was trying to complain about the music up at Orange County. Yeah. Going, this isn't Yosemite.
This isn't Malibu.
Yeah, OC, honey. So, that was kind of a funny thing that happened there. George Orton was the guy that was showing everyone how to do air. I think he was the first guy to do air, but you might have a Kevin Reed.
He claimed frontside air.
He claimed
George
air.
In there.
George claimed it. And,
I think
Alva had it. Alva had it, Orton had it, and Kevin Reed had it. And then next contest, all y'all had it. Yeah. All y'all. Yeah, everyone had it. But one of the things that was really cool about the Hester series is a lot of pool tricks. And it was a trick event. It was a trick contest. It wasn't just getting in there and grinding like the Dogtown guy. It was tricks. Tim Martin, who just got inducted in the Hall of Fame, he invented the rock and roll. We're up at Newark at this bowl that's just didn't have a flat bottom. It was just like a half pipe bowl. Horrible bowl to skate because these guys couldn't get any speed out of it. It was Blackheart's, pretty much Blackheart's bowl up there. Tim Martin goes down, goes up, his board goes up over the cup. And he goes like this and does this thing. And the judges, there's 5 judges, and they stopped the contest. They went, oh, they're just, no, it was otherworldly to see Tim Martin do a rock and roll. It was just a regular old frontside rock and roll, backside rock and roll. We stopped the contest. made him do it 3 times. And all Warren Bolster, Casmus and Goodrich, all those photographers came over and they were fighting each other for the right. And he went up and did it 3 times or whatever it was. And then we let him do his run again, which he had won in his run. And, he put him up.
And he won. Funny.
Did he win that?
I think he did, yeah.
I thought I know it put him way up there.
Wait, which contest was that?
Newark. I think the Blackheart might have won. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Rock and roll. But we saw the rock and roll. We saw roll-ins. You were talking about doing roll-ins. Nobody could do a roll-in. You'd ride around the pool and roll in.
That
was unheard of in the first Hester series. And I talk about this stuff in second test. Allow me to,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I'm a fan of the whole thing myself, Yeah. And to see a roll-in, that first contest, that was Doug, who was it?
Doug Schneider.
Doug Schneider did it, and we were just like, everyone fainted. We went, and nowadays a little 11-year-old kid can do it,
Like a 7-year-old.
7-year-olds can roll, With the rock and roll, and then we saw the first front side rock and roll, maybe Eddie or maybe DP, maybe Dwayne Peter. I don't know.
No, Eddie
Valdez.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know who the first guys.
There's 2 people or 3 people that all did it at virtually the same time. And Jerry Valdez, and then Eddie, and the first person I saw do it before everybody was Steve Schneer.
Oh, frontside?
Yeah.
Frontside rock and roll, that's a curveball maneuver. You go up like this and you're blind, coming back down.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but I wasn't a pool rider. I couldn't do that stuff.
Anyway,
I could go up on the coping and ride, and that's about it for me. I was a slalom guy.
Yeah.
Why would a slalom guy do that? Because he saw that those guys needed, I'm empathetic.
Yeah.
I saw those guys, they needed something.
Yeah, well, that started everything.
Every time I see Steve Olson, sir, man, I owe my whole life to you, blah, blah, blah. And, and I really appreciate that when he comes up and says it.
Everybody in the bowls, because, it would just take him longer. And the thing about it is back then we all had, we didn't know any better. Yeah. We all had short careers. It was 3 to 5 year.
Oh, you're done. When you're 25, you were done. Oh, now guys don't even start.
When you're 21 back then.
You're too old.
I was too old at 21.
Yeah, it's weird. That's a weird concept.
I am. But then again, I saw Tony Hawk do a finger flip in my face on his 3rd try, and I'm like, I could never flip my 11-inch board.
No, there were trick guys. There were trick guys, and there were the Hosois, and there were the Hawks. There was 2 different schools of, there was the, Christian Soy going up.
Yeah.
So I had the second year, I lost a bunch of money, like $3 or $4 grand on the Upland event, the finals of the second year, and I got completely disillusioned. I went, that's it.
How did you lose money?
I don't know. It's just like I bought too many nice things for the skaters, or the T-shirts costume, just things that cost too much. And I had the banners, and the comedy bowl at the comedy pool allowed me to do 2 banners. It allowed me to do a lot of banners. But I lost money. I was tired of it. It was the music. We played that same music.
Yeah.
They had 1 cassette with Van Halen and stuff, and we played the same music over and over and over again. We busted out Van Halen. No one had heard of it. My music guy put it on there. No one had heard Van Halen. Eruption or whatever. Yeah. No one, that was the first time a lot of skaters had heard that. And then it was shifting into
the punk rock, new
punk rock with Devo and all that stuff. And and the guys were wearing black and white checkers and the DP look. Yeah. Anyway, so I left all my stuff upstairs at the office at Upland. I just left amplifiers and Briggs scoring system. They'd walk out of the pool and you'd see their score, big letters like this with light bulbs and stuff. Yeah. You'd see the score before the guy got out of the pool. Yeah. It was that quick with the judges, and they'd take the high and the low electronically. They'd take the high and the low and then average the 3. Steve Sherman's dad did all that. It was so exciting because as soon as the guy finished the run, they go, yeah! They'd all look at the scoreboard, and the scoreboard would go bling. You were in there. You were there. It was kind of cool to see your score right away without having to wait 2 hours for the score. Anyway, so Frank Hawk got a hold of it. He said, "Yeah, I want to promote my son and his friends." So Frank Hawk got a hold of it, learned how to use the scoreboard, I think, and got the speakers. I had these big box speakers and amp, and got all my stuff, and started the Gold Cup series, and they did that for 2 years.
Okay,
until then, yeah, Frank got all the stuff, and he started a Gold Cup.
It was an NSA.
Yeah, it went from into Castle. A lot of Castle kids came up into the. So anyway, they started the Gold Cup series, and that was the 2 series after. And that's what Eddie O'Gara promotes. He promotes the 2 years of the Hester series,
right,
and then the 2 years of the Gold Cup series. To him, and he's right. It's all one thing.
Right.
It's just
one era.
Yeah, it's one era. It's one solid 4-year era of pool riding. After the Gold Cup series, skateboarding took a giant dump.
Yep.
Man, Tony Hawk. So all those great skaters started off, Lance Mountain,
Caballero,
all the guys on the Powell thing. It just died on them right when they're just at the top. Right, we're just about to be insane top world pro skaters. It just went away, and they kept skating. But boy, they lost parks. They lost ramp. They had to find ramps.
Ramps got built everywhere.
Ramps were getting built because the parks were getting bulldozed, and it was a weird time. As they all blamed it on
insurance.
Nowadays they don't need. Nowadays it's just like skate at your own risk. Who cares? Don't even wear a helmet. Don't wear pads. You'll live. Mom, your kid will live. He might get cracked on the head, but he's going to live. It's not that insanely dangerous. I mean, for the guys that are going off the deep end with this pads thing, I love seeing the guys at the barracks, and that's one of the things I really like about skateboarding now is in competition. I like the barracks deal. The game of skate at the barracks. I think that's a really good one-on-one competition. It's small, it's compact, and it's really easy to understand. Some of the stuff like I've seen in the Olympics and the big giant arenas they have that are on the ramps and stuff, and they just skate across and go up this and do a turn. A lot of that is and they all end up doing rail slides down one rail. They could just go back around or have one go one way and have one go the other way. But those big giant arenas, unless it's a mini ramp or a mini pool, like they do up in Huntington and stuff, unless it's like that, those things are just like wasted concrete. They don't use them all. I was really frustrated with the Olympics when I saw those guys skate, and they were only skating one section of that beautiful facility they built out there,
Well, they had different types of events there.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So
they had bikes. They threw bikes in there.
But I mean, just as far as skateboarding goes, because part of it was bowl, and that's the whole thing, everything.
Right.
And then they had trick, where guys just had.
Okay, well, maybe I'm looking at just the trick when it was the trick one. I'm going, why are they just going down the rail?
That was it, though. It was like your best trick down that one rail, or staircase or whatever, and then do it.
Yeah.
So you got judged on it, but Olympics. We'll see what happens. I mean,
it's gonna be all right.
I would love to see slalom get into it.
Yeah, they're trying.
The fact that it's a timed issue. It has nothing to do with somebody judging you.
Slalom's so cool. You know what's cool about slalom?
It's fast.
You could tell the guy, you suck. Because he did suck. Because it's timed. It wasn't like judging. You can't say, Tony Alva, you suck because I'm better than you. And you can't say that. You could say it in slalom. That was funny. We worked it in slalom. We'd work that time thing because it didn't matter. You're either faster or you're slower. There was no judgment to it.
That's right.
You could come down all looking all weird and win. It didn't matter if you won.
But you were sitting if you had bad style and you were sitting over there. You went with the cool guys.
Right. What else have you got? Are we done or what?
No, man,
I want to keep going.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I'll keep going for another $5. Look at me surfing. That's 19.
Okay.
That's out of high school.
Yeah. So my whole thing was I know after you finished the Hester series, this is the next part of your life.
I went on to Sk8board Computers. I put a suit and tie on, went to a computer company and worked in promotions for my friend David K.
Yeah. Okay.
Sk8board Computers.
And then you became a professional surfer. right?
In
California, you worked
1982, I think it was, I started surfing pro. I surfed the Stubbies events.
in- Yeah.
I did pretty well in California. I surfed Malibu. I beat Marvin Foster, a Hawaiian surfer in my heat. I mean, I was a pretty good surfer. I was surfing at 30 years old, probably at 212 pounds on a little 6-foot, like that little yellow board you guys saw,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
a little 6-foot asymmetric back in the day. And this board's a little bit, or this is a little bit earlier, that one.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
You top 10?
I was top 10 in California. There, that board. During the time I was riding that board, I was probably surfing top 10, but I was too heavy to paddle back out. You know, trestles, you get a wave and it's like freaking a mile long, it seems like.
Yeah,
and you got to
hurts.
paddle back out, and I've got all the guys on the beach, you know. Henry, paddle. I go, I can't. And I'm this big
one
guy,
faster.
but I was ripping. I was a pretty good surfer, but, you know, I'd come up against the Newport crowd, you know, back in the day, and it was like Danny Kwok and
Some big
Preston Murray. They weren't the big boys. They were the
big
best
hitters.
boys. They were
Yeah.
they were the guys, the 54th Street crew with the checkerboard pants and the wave tools, and you know they had their little scene going.
Did they allow you to surf with them up there?
No, I didn't even try.
Oh, okay.
I was in San Diego. We'd meet at Trestles for the let's say for the Stubbies, and I was saying, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I was saying that you would, you know, I'd draw Danny Kwok or Treston Murray or Park or Jeff Park. I'd draw these guys on these wave tools, and I see they had the checkerboard wave tools board, and I'd want to just go to the car. I don't even know why they were so good at this, California surfing. They were so good. I didn't even want to. I should have just gone to the car.
What about Fletcher? Was he out there at that time?
No, it was before him.
Okay, interesting.
Danny Kwok was the star kid, and of course he got into Quicksilver, and you know these guys all went on to pretty good careers. But yeah, I surfed well. I surfed for 2 or 3 years, you know, and never won $1, but because I always got right to the semifinals, top 10, and got last place.
Yeah.
There I am snowboarding. I got into the snowboard industry about that time.
Well, that was the next thing.
What do you know? There's a picture.
Yeah, I had to surf.
Wow, are you coordinated here?
I'm trying to keep this thing going because I know
He's a pro.
I just knew that how much time you spent in snow.
I was in 40 years in the snowboard industry.
You developed. I mean, you built factories.
Yeah, we did Gordon Smith.
Yeah.
Snowboards, and with started off. Steve, Kathy, and I did the first Gordon Smith snowboard. I'm telling you, we took a wood ruler, bent it, and drew the side cut with a ruler, a wood ruler, and took that piece of paper down to Watson, and he made horizontally laminated, like a skateboard laminated snowboards, and they were really heavy, and we got Mike Rankwit to put his name on one.
Was it called Slicker at that time?
No, Slicker. That
was before Slicker.
Steve was way before that.
Yeah.
Steve had Slicker 10 years before that.
Yeah, okay.
Steve was a real pioneer. Steve and Barfoot and Sims. Steve was not as popular, his boards, but he was super ahead of schedule.
Progressive.
Super ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
He did the yo-yo wheels.
Yeah.
He'd be a good. Have you interviewed him? He'd be a good one.
Yeah, I had him.
Yeah,
but no, I have one of his Slicker boards.
Oh yeah,
it's in my garage.
Yeah, they're like there's an era of winter stick when winter stick swelltails. That's Slicker was about that. Anyway, so we started Gordon Smith, and then I moved on to a truck. When I was managing the skateboard company, it was the Neil Blender, Billy Ruff, Chris Miller, Danny Webster. You know, it was that era. And I ended up moving on to a skateboard company, or a truck company. We called it San Diego Trucks, and they made the GNS trucks. They were chromoly, and they were, they had indie geometry, but they would break and stuff. But anyway, we went on to do San Diego trucking for a couple of years. Buck Jackson, a bunch of guys were on the team. Danforth. We had our paid guy was Bill Danforth, and he rode those things and slapped them, and just we sent him a case of the things. I think I don't know. He could break them, but anyway, Danforth rode for Gordon Smith, and I with the manufacturer I started San Diego Trucking. Same thing, a little bit beefier. Anyway, went from there. I went to Mike Olson called me up from this company called Mervin Manufacturing, Liberace Technologies.
Is that what it was?
Liberace. Libtech is Liberace Technologies, and they have GNU snowboards as their secondary model, and Libtech is their high-end model. So they sell one to bigger stores, and one was kind of exclusive to snowboard shops. Anyway, they invited me up to go for the weekend, come up and check out their thing. They were making them out of a big house. They had presses downstairs, and everything in this big house, pretty big house in Queen Anne. And they said, "We'd like you to be our sales manager." And I go, "Okay, yeah, you got to deal with this guy Randy. You run interference between us and Randy, because Mike and Pete were the snowboard geniuses, and Randy was the business owner, and they needed a guy to run interference."
Right, gotcha.
So anyway, I moved up there. I moved away from my girlfriend that I was with. I eventually married Joanne, my second wife. I moved away from her. It was all teary-eyed, and it was horrible. And I moved up there to take that job, So there's a guy who's left a relationship, a serious relationship, to take a job up in Seattle in a place I'd never lived.
Right.
And I took little Nina, 7-year-old. You guys all know Nina. Yeah. I took Nina took Nina with me, single dad, 6 years old, and I didn't understand Seattle. I didn't know if the streets were paved. I didn't know. Seattle was like in the mountains and the pine trees and stuff. So anyway, I learned, and of course it was the years that I went to Mervin were the grunge years. All the guys had their plaid shirts on and working all the guys that worked at Mervin at the time, and still, Mervin is the main company over Libtech and GNU, and probably a couple others. Anyway, those guys are the best snowboarders up there. There's Bass, and there's, Matt Rainey was there were the best snowboarders were up there, and they could ride that Sierra Cement. If you can ride that stuff, where it rains, kind of snows and rains, if you could ride anything. And those guys are really, really good, and they all worked in the factory, grinding boards and stuff. And so I came back from that, started Rusty Snowboards. I got Tim Trudell, and a couple other guys, some well-known guys, skate park builders now, Tim. Hi, Tim. And guys to work in my factory. And it was a completely different process of making boards. It was hard tooling, aluminum, heat, not an airbag. It's a completely different process than Libtech was. And we made some great boards. We cut the cores into 3 pieces, and we made 3 torsion boxes, and the boards are really torsionally stiff, and they work great. Rusty snowboards.
Were those sandwich or capped?
They're caps.
They're all cap boards?
Yeah, they're capped. It was hard to make them because the tool had to fit on the bottom had to fit on the top. And did
you ever run across Troy Churchill?
Churchill?
Yeah.
In what way?
Snowboarding.
Troy was my number 1 sales guy that worked for me as a sales manager, and I love Troy. I just lost track of him. But Troy Churchill and I had more fun at Mervin.
Yeah.
We were selling, and this kind of.
I still talk to Troy all the time.
Oh God, it was so funny. We used to joke around with wrapping up the boards. See, early season, you'd wrap up all the boxes of boards go to Japan. They'd buy cases, these giant boards, and Troy was a character. He'd look down at the shipping area, and there's all these boxes of crates of boards going to Japan. Go, yeah, wrap it, strap it, and jap it. Oh my God! No, we had more fun I had more fun. I think Troy was the guy that was my closest guy there. Really good individual.
He's super rad.
I really missed the banter and all the fun. We had. If he sees us, he'll know.
I'll tell him to watch it.
It was really good. Yeah, 1 hour.
55 minutes.
That's why you have to watch. Right? But no, Troy was great. He was my closest friend there.
Now you said you were working for
Tim Earl. Tim Earl is a big Facebook guy. He was there. Chris Crittenden was the manager of the production. It was a hardcore crowd. There's about 40 people that made those boards. It made the best boards at the time for sure.
Okay.
If not now, I don't know if I like all the
camber,
not non-cambered. But I don't know. I don't understand.
It's so fast.
Yeah,
I don't understand those.
Yeah. Okay.
It's so fast.
All right. What about? All right. So the snowboarding thing comes to an end, and I got this picture from you. Explain this one because
We used before I moved to Texas, I was street riding on a Kawasaki's on a couple of Italian bikes.
Sponsored, right? A sponsored rider?
No.
Just for free.
No, yeah, I had a MV Agusta Brutale, and I had this, I had that. I built a Kawasaki triple flat tracker that I couldn't really ride. It would go 12 miles and run out of gas. It was soaking up 3 giant 40 millimeter Keyhind carburetors that just go and just suck all the gas out of you go about 10, 20 feet before you had to hit the next gas station. But the thing was badass. You could look it up, Hester Kawasaki flat tracker.
Wow. All right. I'll have to look that up.
Pretty well known in the bike build world.
Wow.
I sold it on eBay. Anyway,
so you like
that would be something you want to look up and post a picture of that if you can in editing. Anyway,
okay.
That was at Fontana, California Speedway at 170 miles an hour for about 1 second until you had to shut it off. And that was a track day, which is like doctors and lawyers and haul-ass guys, not the squids you see on the street, but guys that would be in proper leathers in a race 3 levels. We rode intermediate and did pretty well in the intermediate class. The guys in the advanced class were all the guys with scars and they were badass road racer guys. Those guys were super tough. Anyway, that was my Kawasaki ZX10. I raced that I rode that in Texas when I was in Texas. And then one of our buddies died. Had a head on with a guy with the same bike, Honda 1000, Honda leader bike, another Honda leader bike. Had a head on down towards Montezuma Pass or Montezuma Hill and
over by San Diego State.
No, Montezuma going down to Borrego.
Oh, okay. All right.
The windy road, and the guy came around and just went too wide and hit my friend Maurice, and then half of our guys quit. That day he died, and I'm the first dead guy I've ever seen. And I'm working on him and doing the thing, and a BMW motorcycle guy had the thing down his throat, where he's doing the throat, and I'm doing the pressing. I couldn't do it for longer. When you try to do cardiac, what's it called, CPR? Yeah, you can't go for longer than a minute, and especially if it's hot as 80, 90 degrees. And we had 6 or 7 people. A nurse was doing it, and we're trying to keep him alive. It was weird. That morning, he's a big believer, and it's kind of a human story to it in a way. He called me that morning, and he was a big believer in The Secret. And that's where it's that kind of thing where you manifest something and it will happen. You think positive and it'll happen. I wasn't, but he was big into The Secret. And he goes, Henry, I'm thinking that today, what did he say? I'm thinking today's ride is going to be epic, and then I see a clear road ahead. I see a clear road, and I'm pumping on his chest, and his eyes are open. He's dead. Good looking guy, Maurice. 2 kids, but he's dead because he's gotten hit by this other motorcycle head on. Their rotors were both rotors, and the brake rotors were bent sideways. It was a head on. I didn't see it until we came back down the hill. He's laying on there, and oh my God, Maurice got in a crash. Oh my God, he's dead. Well, maybe he's not dead. He started doing all the stuff. And my other 2 buddies just sat up there, no, he's gone, aorta valve. Anyway, it's kind of a sad part of this, but I could see his eyes. And it's very emotional for me. And I'm not a religious man. And I look in his eyes, and his eyes are just straight up like that. He's laying there, and his eyes are looking straight up. And I thought back to what he said that morning at 7 a.m. on the phone. He goes, I see a clear path ahead. And it was the first time I ever thought, it wasn't a religious experience because I'm just not that guy, but it was weird because I kind of saw that straight path to heaven or whatever he's going to go to. It was a trip. That stuff doesn't happen to me. I don't see orbs and ghosts and spiritual things and talk to God. None of that is anywhere near my life. But that, when I saw Maurice laying there, when we're pumped, and his eyes were looking straight up, he's dead. First dead guy I've ever seen. Anyway, sorry about that. You can edit all this. It's a trip. It's kind of a trip. It's sort of a spiritual trip.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, how about those road riders?
How about this part of your
How about the mat surfing? I got into mat surfing. That's a Greeno thing. George Greeno mat surfing, and a guy in England, and then another guy up in
Can run through.
up in Santa Barbara. They make these mats, and I'm telling you,
This is old school, man. I rode a mat back in like 1960s.
yeah, but the new ones, you ride them all floppy, so they bend over like that, and they're so fast. It's unbelievable how fast mats are.
Really?
Yeah, they're like
Just over bodyboards.
Yeah, that's it. That's at Solana Beach. That's at Solana Beach down the stairs there.
That looks like fun there.
Oh, it's so much fun, and
Such a nice day.
they go so fast.
no hat?
Henry without a hat.
Yeah, man.
See, I'm bald, dude. I don't.
That's 71. I think it's okay.
What's new, pussycat? No, it just doesn't work. Okay, what else is
All right,
going
then the
on?
last ones, I think.
Mat surfing. Yeah, I got into mat surfing, and that sort of got out. My ankle hurt too much for the fins.
Yeah.
So these are the last.
Okay.
These are the last shots.
Yeah, we just got Henry with the white hat.
No, well, I went in. That was a taxi. ran a taxi in a post-career job. It's really fun to do. Nowadays it's Uber, but we ran a taxi service, and that was really good. And I went down and signed a bunch of boards for Debbie Gordon down there. They distributed Alva, and it was also Gordon Smith. They made 200 or 300 of those Hester models,
Rad.
and I signed every one of them. I got a signed one.
Yeah. So, yeah, all that career leads to that right there with your Hall of Fame.
Oh, well, yeah, I got a Hall of Fame 2015,
Yeah.
and I got in.
That age license plate.
I got in there, did a stupid.
What car was running on that bad H?
I had a Jeep. I had a CJ7 black with full roll cage and big tires and stuff, and I rode that. And that was the car that I had bad H.
Okay, well,
I have that. That's in my
I
trunk.
want to know who named that. Who named you bad
Well, that's a
H?
good
Where'd you
question.
get that
I
one?
think it was Mike. I would say it was Mike Williams.
Yeah.
And either Tommy Ryan. It would have been Tommy Ryan and Mike Williams because they had the humor factor down.
Yeah.
Mike Williams is
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Of course, you worked with him. Yeah, you worked for him or with him.
Yeah, I worked
at
with
Gullwing.
I worked for him at Gullwing.
Yeah. I didn't know
that. And then after I put a ton of trucks together, man. That's right.
Really? So you worked for Walt with Walt?
Yeah, I worked there at the factory.
Yeah, that was out in El Cajon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then after I would work in like the morning to the afternoon because the skate parks didn't open until like 11 or 12. So I'd go down there early and put together trucks for a couple hours, 3, 4, 5 hours.
Your hands are bleeding.
Depending on like how much, like, we got all these orders, get them out, help us, and I'd be putting trucks together. And then
and they were rocking. Gullwing was rocking and rolling for many years.
It did great. And then after that, then I'd go like, can I go skate? They're like, go ahead, go skate.
That's cool.
So that's what I was doing for a lot of years. And
did you ever work there and then not ride the Gullwings or road trackers or indies?
I've only ever rode Gullwing.
And then what other trucks after that?
I never rode anything else.
You were a Gullwing guy.
Gullwing guy all the whole way. Yeah.
Interesting.
Never. Yeah.
I rode Bennett's, Chicago's, then Bennett's, then Trackers, then Indies, and then into the slalom world we rode
Seismic
COG from Germany. So I rode a Seismic in the front, an Indy in the back. We rode, and my last slalom board had a Bennett. They put Bennett's on the new slalom boards. They put Bennett's on the front because they're cheap and they work great. Yeah. The ones I was talking about, Skate King with Maria, she'll build you up a one with a Bennett on the front and some other truck on the back. Insane. They ride. It's such a great ride. Yeah. And if you like pump tracks, the new pump tracks and stuff, those are far and away the best boards for pump tracks.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if you go back, I rode Chicago trucks, my first ones. Actually, it was a three-hole one.
That's pretty.
And then there was another truck back then. I can't remember the name of it, but it was
the ACS.
No, not ACS. But I wrote.
Wasn't it Sure Grip?
Yeah, it could have been whatever Sure Grip. But
yeah,
the thing is,
the wheels. You had to put the balls in the wheels.
Yeah. Well, that's what it was.
How old are you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 60 next month.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're barely at the age of doing that. I mean, we were putting ball bearings into wheels.
I started in 71.
Oh, okay.
So
wow, that's kind of before I start. That's before the second era of skateboarding started. That was 74.
Yeah.
If you ask.
The wheels off my mom's old skates.
Yeah.
Her old roller skates.
Wow. Yeah, my first board was a 2x4. 2x4 with my sister's roller skates and metal wheels that you nail on the bottom of the board. 2x4, probably about that long. 2x4, freaking that thing.
Yeah.
Crazy. You skate like John Lennon and go, whatever.
Yeah. But I did. I tried your the San Diego Truck Company.
Yeah.
I had some of those.
Everyone tried them.
those. I tried them.
Yeah.
And then I tried ACS.
Yeah.
It was like Doug back in the day, and
who rode for ACS? Who were the prime?
Doug and Dennis and Steve and Lane were the 4 guys that I remember.
Steve Cathy,
on
ACS.
Yeah, those guys were all ACS, but I remember the trucks were new and I broke the kingpin on it. I was like, man, I'm not the kingpin, but the little thing on the back, whatever it is. Yeah. It goes in the pivot. Yeah, it goes into the pivot. I broke that, and then
you break some on a truck, and you just go, oh, you give up.
But I was still riding for it. But those guys asked me like, hey, try these trucks. I was like, I'll try them. But I broke that thing. I think it was on an axle stall or something.
So where it was critical.
So so I was like, okay, well, here you go, man. Thanks, and got my gold wings back. But I always, I tested a couple trucks, but I always rode gold wings.
Interesting. I got I got in on a lot of the first trucks from a number of companies. Certainly Indy.
Yeah.
I had the first.
Too bad you don't still have those, man.
Well, yeah, Sk8board's got a set of them. I think Rich Novak up there at NHS wanted them back. I think Sk8board, I think he sent them back, but he's got one. I know he's got one. I sent mine back. They asked for them back. Novak and Sherman, NHS. Jay Sherman's now deceased, but they asked for the truck back, and I think I sent it back.
Well, Novak's still around.
Novak's rocking and rolling. He's got Santa Cruz bicycles. I don't know if he sold it off. But Santa Cruz is doing great. Yeah. It's a great tour if you're ever in Santa Cruz and you want to tour a skateboard factory. It's downstairs. They've got all the pictures and Hudson and me, and then there's of course Olson and Dwayne Peters and all their pool and ramp skaters and stuff. So they've got a. I forgot the guy's name that is running it, but he's a top skater.
Jeff
Kendall's in. I met Jeff Kendall.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And he was a super nice guy. Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, those guys are all skateboarders and they get it. You know what I mean?
Kendall.
So
and Rob DeNike was a skater.
And Ike still too.
Playing.
Yeah.
I was up in NorCal watching at a punk show. With Brockway and all those guys up there because I was going to move up there, and the guy, the band was rocking and rolling. It was a really cool band. The guy was singing. He was got a little fedora hat on, and it was
who's that? Oh,
it was DeNike.
Oh, DeNike.
Bob DeNike, and I didn't even know. He came up to me, hey, how you doing? I didn't even know who he was, and it was so embarrassing. Bob,
I'm 71 now. I have an excuse.
I don't know your name.
It's been over 40 years. I forgot
your name. Oh, I do that all the time. And you know what I do? I pull the age card. Totally. Now, what's your name? Just like that. I do that at the Hall of Fame. I do people, Henry, you're the big star. Right. And I go,
yeah.
What's your name? Arab. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. No, I'll never forget. I'll never forget Eric.
Yeah.
Eric could really help me in some slalom contests I put on. And Lynn and Jack Smith. I mean, there's all kinds of I've had some close friends in the skateboard
Jack Smith
industry.
is great.
He's got a lot of story. Yeah. He sent me a script of his next movie that he's doing about 3 guys going across. The guy meets the girl and stuff. I'm only on page 40. The guy meets the girl and it's kind of cool and all that.
All right. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap this up.
Good.
Did you have anything else you can remember you wanted to talk about? Like,
I think
I don't know what that
No, that was
for.
Mark Bowden.
Okay.
I want to make sure that was Mark Bowden in that skate car behind mine. He went across. He just clipped my back. He couldn't turn it. Went across and hit a big concrete thing.
Oh.
So I'm at the bottom of the hill. I had a burger, fries, and lunch in my. They went to McDonald's and I missed lunch. Right, so I stuck all my stuff in the front of my cab, front of my nose, and I pulled out and had food at the bottom because I wasn't able to get to food at this particular Derby Downs thing. Anyway, Bowden comes across me. I didn't know it, of course, because I'm in front.
Right.
You know, it's 2 up.
Oh, that's it.
And he came, good thing that I was faster because he would have knocked me sideways. But he came across, hit a concrete thing, really screwed up his back, lost an inch or two in his back, and broke some bones and this and that. Sk8board was the first guy to come up to him. He's going, ah, ah, ah. This is so hectic. Sk8board tells that story. This is so hectic. But he really got hurt.
The sense of humor too.
Oh my God, that's Mark Bowden, you rule, dude.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys I have a lot of appreciation for them later in life, and guys that I didn't know back in the skateboard industry that I gotten to know better, you know, like you, you know, we didn't hang. And in the Hester series, I'm sorry to continue. In the Hester series, I was doing tabulations and I was running the show and who's next, or I had my starter guys with the board, who's next and all that. But I was so beat and so tired from getting up in the morning and setting up the banners and doing all the work that I would kind of clock out. Like I remember at the Del Mar event that we had at the Keyhole there, I went over and laid down and fell asleep right during the event. And you got Hunter on the microphone, or David, and those guys handled the whole thing. They knew the next guy up, and they ran the contest while I just sort of put it together, you know. Anyway, I've had a great skateboard career. It's been a long time since I've been, you know, pretty active on the skateboards. I'd say since 2012. 2012 was probably my last race that Gumby put me out. Gumby, you suck. Anyway, so you know, you live your history and you get all the accolades. I like. It's fun, you know. It's fun.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. You too.
Anyway.
Well, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Big H, Bad H. Even better, man. I always called you Big H.
Well, Big H, it was one or the other, Big H or Bad H, and I don't know which one's correct. Some of the guys say, Big H. You know, I think that was Tommy Ryan because I was always bigger than him. Big H. And the other guys, Marty Shaw, Bad H. You know, Marty Shaw, you got called out. I'm not going to race you. Okay.
Now, at least a 30-yard head start.
50. This has been fun, you guys.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you again for watching Sk8board Nation. Dave Andrecht, Henry Hester. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And again, once again, if you guys are still with us, please hit subscribe, hit your likes, and and share it. You know, when you guys do it, man, send it off to all your friends.
Buy this
Let
stuff.
them do it. And help out with Claire for Claire's sake. We're all good friends with Tibbs. And anyway.
Have you got Tibbs? Have you done an interview with him?
Not yet, man.
He'd be a good guy.
I'm trying to get him to slow down on his talking. I can't understand it half of it.
I'm bad at that too.
And I like giving him a hard time about it too. So he's a super good guy.
You got so many great people to interview. I think this whole Skate Nation is going to be really successful. Yeah. And it already is.
It's just been super fun, Henry.
You got so many great characters and, just people that,
I got to get Sk8board in here. I want to get Mike Williams in here as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to get Mike in here because I know a lot of stories of skateboarding because we hung out a lot.
Yeah, I didn't know Mike.
Days.
I didn't know Mike and Kiersey and Tommy. I didn't know that those guys were a different world than me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. We're good.
Okay.